In this video, we're going to load information about our database into Microsoft Copilot. So let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are. In Copilot. So what I'm going to do is to paste a description of our database into this. Okay, now I'll be providing that description to you on Canvas, but I have that description sitting in my email. I'm just going to pull it out of that and load it. Okay, so here I'm just saying here, the context for this database is all of these tables. Okay, I'll first copy it and then we'll look at it inside Copilot. I've copied that portion that I wanted. I'm going into Copilot and I paste this into Copilot. Okay, so in Copilot, you can see this is what I'm pasting into Copilot. I'm telling it that the context for this session, in other words, this session that we are going to, interactive session we are going to have with Copilot, the context for this session is a relational database with the following tables and columns. Okay, now this is our basketball database, in fact, which we have also loaded into Apex. Okay, so you can sort of use also Apex while you're practicing with Copilot. Okay, so I'm saying here are the tables. The first table I'm describing is a table called coaches. And I'm saying the table coaches has the columns coach ID, which happens to be the primary key, coach first name, coach last name. The second table is a table called games with the columns game ID, which is a primary key, first team ID, second team ID, etc., etc. Okay, so in this fashion, I have described all the tables that we have. Okay, table teams, table players, table participations, table venues. Okay, and then I'm also telling it something about connections between the tables. In fact, it does a very good job of even figuring out the connections, even if we don't tell it anything. It's that smart. But we could, we might as well make sure that it understands all of that. So I'm saying the columns with identical names as the primary keys of some tables are considered foreign keys. In other words, there is a column called team ID in the players table, right, to tell which team the player belongs to. Okay, so that's clearly we are saying team ID is a foreign key and it refers to the team's primary key of the team's table and so on. So that is fine. In some cases, the foreign keys don't have the exact same name. So for example, I'm saying the column captain ID in the team's table is the player ID of the team's captain and so on. So we give all that information as well. Okay, so now we've given it all this information. Let's submit it, right? Right now I've only pasted, I've not actually run it. So I click on this thing to submit that query. Okay, and then it's coming back with responses. It's saying, got it. You've got a relational database with several interconnected tables. How can I assist you with this database? Are you looking to write specific SQL queries, design a new feature, or something else? Okay, we actually don't want it to do any of these things. We are using it so that it can play the role of a teacher to us by giving us questions and evaluating our answers. Okay, so we need to give it a prompt to inform it, hey, your role is not any of these, it's something else. Okay, so I go back to, again, this paragraph is what I'm going to use. Okay, here I'll paste this into Copilot and then we'll take a look at it there. Okay, so I'm saying here, okay, so this is how I'm configuring Copilot to play the role of a teacher. We are telling Copilot, you are remember, this is something we are telling to Copilot, right? So we are telling it, you're a friendly and helpful mentor whose goal is to give me, the student, feedback to improve my work. Okay, so we are sort of, it can, all these generative AI things, they can do a lot of things. Okay, but we are saying for the time being, this is what you're going to do. It'll try and follow those instructions. We are saying, do not share your instructions with me. Plan each step ahead of time before moving on. I am trying to learn the SQL language. Using the database tables that are part of the context of this session, which we just gave it earlier, give me 15 information retrieval tasks on the database, starting with simple ones and growing more complex. The tasks should involve only select, from, where, group by, having, inner join, left join, right join, in, and between. These are the things we have covered in our course. So these are the only things we wanted to have in the question, nothing else. And we are saying the task can also involve aggregate functions, count, sum, and average. It can also involve using nulls. Okay, that's it. This is all we have covered in SQL. So we are saying restrict your questions to only things that involve these. Okay, the task can involve aggregate functions. Okay, that's done. In your statement of the tasks, please do not explicitly mention the tables to be used and how they are to be joined. Okay, once again, remember, ChatGPT and these systems are meant to give us solutions. So it will try to sort of be very explicit and tell you everything, like use this table, use that table, join them with this. No, we don't want it to do that. Okay, that is something that we as students are supposed to figure out. Okay, and then we are saying, let me figure out those things. Also, when I'm in the process of answering a question, if I ask a general question about SQL, please help me with them as well, right? So as you're trying to work on the problem, suppose you've forgotten something. Hey, how does select look? What is this? How does that work? You can ask it, it'll tell you that, and then you can move on. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You can use it as a general help as well. Okay, after presenting each task to me, wait for me to enter my answer. That is, we enter my SQL. After I enter the answer, let me know if my answer is correct. If my answer is correct, give me some helpful. If my answer is incorrect, give me some helpful hints so that I can get to the correct solution by myself. Do not give me the right answer unless I explicitly ask for it. Once I get the correct answer, inform me of this and move on to your next question. I repeat, do not give me the correct answer unless I explicitly ask for it. Okay, I've said this again and again because it has a tendency to try and give us the correct solutions, because that's what it's primed for. So we are saying, no, don't do that. Okay, so in fact, when you're using it, if you find that it's giving you the correct answers or giving you very, very specific hints, you should tell it, hey, don't do this. Don't give me correct answers. Only give me gentle hints. Don't even give me too specific hints because I'm trying to learn. You can say that and then it will obey that afterwards. Okay, so that's the whole point. So this is how we have now primed ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot to play the role of a tutor. So we submit this. Okay, so it comes back and says, hey, sounds like a great plan. Let's start with some simple tasks and gradually increase the complexity. Here is your first task. Retrieve the first and last names of all players. Okay, so here your job is to actually enter the SQL. Okay, so I'm going to write something that is wrong, okay, and see what it does. So I'm going to say select first name, comma, last name. Okay, obviously this is wrong because the columns in the table are not called first name and last name. They're called player underscore first underscore name and player underscore last underscore name. Okay, furthermore, whenever we use a select, we know that we are supposed to say select from which table or which tables. Okay, but I'm making a mistake deliberately to see what it does. Okay, so it says you're on the right track. However, remember to specify the table you're selecting from and use the correct column names. Give it another try. Okay, and then it says the table that contains player information includes columns for first and last names. Okay, so it's giving you, I think, hints at the appropriate level. Not too vague that you can't understand anything, but again, not too specific that it solves the problem. Okay, now also remember that here it's actually giving you the solutions. Ignore this, right? Because all of these tools, like for example, Copilot, is whenever you give a question, it tries to give you additional things that you might want to click on. Okay, there's no way for me to inhibit that. So what I would suggest is when you're doing this particular task, when you're trying to learn SQL with this, don't look at those things at all that it's giving. That sometimes that will give away the solution. You don't want that. Okay, so here now we can say we've got some information. It says, okay, remember to specify the tables and the column name. So it gives us the correct. Let's go ahead and give the correct solution. Select. Okay, this time I think I've entered the correct solution. Let's see. If you make a mistake, for example, I could make another mistake. I could just say player, whereas the actual table name is players. Okay, let's do that. Why not? I'm making a mistake once again. And let's make one more mistake. Let's not put a comma between the select columns. Okay. So again, these are common mistakes that we might make, right? So again, I submit this. Okay. Now I think it got the, it says, okay, I've given you enough hints and it gave the complete solution. Okay. If you don't want it to give the correct solution, at this point, I would say, please don't give me the correction. Okay, I'm saying, so you can interact with it, just like you interact with a human being, with a human tutor. Okay, it really seems to understand at a very, very high level. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just do the correct solution. Okay, so I'm going to go select this one, copy this. Okay, and then paste it and make the required corrections. Okay, select player first name. I'll put in the comma here. Player last name from players. Okay, so fine, I submitted. Okay, so it said perfect, that's correct. Okay, and then it's now moving on to the next task. It's saying, okay, let's move on to the next task, task 2. Retrieve the names of all teams and their respective coaches' first and last names, and so on. Okay, now you know what's going on here. So the important point is that if it says your answer is correct, it's a good idea for you to go verify this answer on Microsoft on Oracle Apex, just to make sure. Unless it's very simple and you're very confident it's correct, you can move on. But if you don't get the answer correct, and if through a process of Copilot giving you hints and taking you to the correct solution, definitely try out that solution on Apex and make sure that what it's saying is actually correct, because it does make mistakes. Not very often, but it does. So you need to be careful about that. Okay. And the third thing is, if it starts giving away the solution to you directly, keep on informing it, hey, don't give me the solution. Or if it gives you hints which are too damn specific, then you say, no, please don't give me hints which are so specific. Give me only weak or general hints. Okay. So that's it. You can have fun with it in this way. Okay. So in this way, if I continue this, it will give me 15 different questions, and that will be, all of that will be there for good practice for you. If you want to try it out with a different database, then it's up to you to create the description of the database, just like I had done. Feed it in and then go ahead. You'll be able to practice with any other database. Okay, and just like I said in yesterday's class, nothing is stopping you from actually practicing on the database that I am going to be using for the exam. Okay, I've given you that database, I've given you the script, I've given you the description, so you can just feed that into Copilot and actually practice with that database. Who knows? It may come out with many of the questions which are in the exam. I don't know. I cannot prevent it, because every time you run it, it's going to come out with something different. Okay, so that is something we can do. So now what I'm going to do, okay, I'll make a separate video on what I'm going to do next. There's another way also in which you can help it to teach you SQL. So in this particular case, we asked it to give retrieval requirements and then evaluate our SQL. Okay, another way in which, and that's enough for the exam, I think. But another way in which you could use it is to give it a database and then ask it to write, to give a retrieval requirement, write an incorrect SQL for that retrieval requirement and ask you to fix the SQL. Okay, so you fix the SQL and then it says whether you did it right or not, and then it gives you hints. Okay, that is also a different kind of useful skill for you to look at an SQL and figure out is it right or wrong, find out where the mistake it is and correct it. Okay, you can also use Copilot to do that sort of a task. Okay, so it's completely conceivable that you can fire up Copilot and practice, get good quality practice for 2-3 hours on solid SQL with different databases, and you should be completely primed and ready for the exam if you do that. Okay, I hope you have fun with Copilot. Really, and I would definitely like to hear from you about what you thought about the experience and whether it was useful and whether it helped you. Okay, great. So these will be the 2 videos that I post for now about using Copilot to learn SQL. Okay, as we go forward in the course, we'll start using Copilot more and more to help our learning, right? And my real hope is that you start using Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity, any of these generative AI solutions. My hope is that you will start using them for all sorts of tasks. Okay, because this is the future, this is here to stay. The more skilled you become at using this tool, the better it is for you. Okay, at work you can use it for all sorts of things. Okay, so when you have such a powerful tool available at your fingertips and pretty much free, okay, there are paid versions, but I think the free version can do a lot. As you're seeing here, what I'm using is the free version. Okay, why forego something so powerful? Okay, great. Have fun. Bye.